about 60, 70 motorcycles, I'm finally narrowing it down to that one perfect bike that could almost do it all. From the 625, which I reviewed on this channel, to the 690 Enduro, finally the 790. This is the Adventure S model, not the R. Stay tuned for a complete in-depth owner's review of this remarkable machine, probably one of the best adventure motorcycles that does highway as good as it does dirt. Stay tuned. It's good.
Bravo y dobrodošli, bon dia, bem-vindos, servus, willkommen, buenos dias, bienvenidos, greetings riders, and welcome to another Pegasus Motorcycle Touring and Consulting Review. Nick here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and your attention. What you're going to get in this review is my complete, sincere owner's review of the 2019 KTM Adventure S. I think this motorcycle fits me like a glove, and I've owned almost everything on the market, from the used to the new, and I really love this motorcycle. There are some things that could be improved, of course, every motorcycle, but I think in that search for the unicorn bike, this is as close as I've gotten so far, and it's been 20 some years, and 70 plus motorcycles. Many have been reviewed on this channel. You can look through the playlist, especially in the adventure touring category. I review everything from sidecars to choppers, etc., and I've owned all that. This though does it all. If I had to have one in the garage that allowed me to go have these amazing experiences in the Eastern Sierra, June Lake behind me, just finished a 6-day tour here with a private client, and that motorcycle for just every day if you need to go to the office, if you need to go shopping for groceries, etc. This bike will do it all. Stay tuned, let's do it. Let's start from first cooling down. It's incredibly hot, 115 degrees down in Bishop, California. For those who have not had the privilege to get to know this part of California, I offer Eastern Sierra Tour. It's a private tour, a group of only 6 people who know each other. You can take a look at the trailer. It's an amazing experience. I think it's a mecca for motorcycling. So get in touch if you'd like to organize that, and I'd be happy to show you around. This tool right here is the perfect tool for the job. 2019 KTM 790 Adventure S. They made 2 versions of the bike, well 3. The S, the R, and then there was a higher end, the Rally model. This is basically on the lower end of the offerings. This motorcycle is phenomenal every way. I've owned the 625, reviewed that motorcycle. I've owned the 690, also will be reviewing that motorcycle. And then I picked this bike, and I just needed something with twin cylinders that wasn't so buzzy, wasn't so off-road oriented. I needed something, for example, here in the Eastern Sierras, the wind can be so extreme, it's pushing you off the road. So you need that on the road, a little bit heavier motorcycle. Now, speaking of the weight, this is a 400 and nearly 50-pound motorcycle, curb weight, but the distribution is the beauty. The distribution is largely determined by the gas tank, which hugs on both sides of the motorcycle down low. There's multiple benefits to that. Obviously, lower center of gravity. And another actually thing that I didn't understand until I actually owned this motorcycle, it doesn't need protection. It doesn't need heavy engine guards that add a ton of weight, complexity to the whole bike, whether you can service it, etc. Because you get this protective plastic here that's just kind of a shroud, easily replaceable should you need to do that. But the tank itself is hardcore. Unless you're banging it against rocks that are kind of offset from a narrow single track or something to that effect, you're not going to have issues with this tank not being protected with metal bars. I found it extremely well designed, and it does offer you nearly 300 miles of range with its 5.3 gallon capacity. That's around 20 liters of fuel. So I really love this particular design. It makes the motorcycle feel way more planted. Unlike other bikes with a heavy capacity of the traditional fuel tank up top, you kind of let it fall into the corners and then you are just coasting and cruising along. This motorcycle does not really want to do that. It wants to basically stay straight, and and the weight being so low, it's always planted, even on sketchy grounds where you think that your Tenere or your KLR would slip out under the weight or drop in slow speeds. This bike, you kind of have to muscle it. It just wants to go straight. I really like that. There's some people that don't like that. There's other riders who are used to that weight up top and having the motorcycle fall into the corners, that this is awkward. This is new. but I love it. I really love it. I think this is a selling point for me. In just that point alone, aside from everything else that's great on the bike, I would consider keeping this for the long term. Hunt for the unicorn, but we have disagreements here. what is,
no, that's a better. Honestly, I think that's a better road bike.
Oh, man.
The T7 does lack on the highway, man. I mean, it does better than like most lighter dual sports, but like comparing these two, that one, the 790 is gonna be the 8790, 890 is gonna be a bit better.
And this dual tone, what did they run out of red, or did they run out of what's the deal? No, very, very capable motorcycle. Very beautiful too. Very beautiful bike. So the fuel tank is awesome. I like that design. I think they should keep it. On the 1290s, they did not do that, so that's kind of interesting. On the 690, the gas tank was under the seat, but the cap was in the back. So if you have any luggage like this, good luck doing that every day. That's kind of annoying. The BMW GS line has it for the 650, for example, which I've reviewed on this channel, has the tank also under the seat, but at least the filler cap is on the side, so you can access it a little easier. Not if you have these Moscow Moto bags, the rackless system, which I have here and also reviewed on this channel. So something to keep in mind. This is the traditional fill top up here, and then it goes on both sides. It doesn't slosh around. Fantastic. Really, really great. In Eastern Sierras again, what a privilege. Training session with a sole client. I picked this motorcycle up for him in Phoenix, brought it to him in Sierras. We're here for a week training. It's a 2015 BMW F650 or G650 in this version. GS, beautiful black bike. It's got 1,000 miles on it now. Just beautiful. My KTM, however, surprised me. I was given a lesson about how you can lean the motorcycle over typically on the kickstand so you could service the chain, and it just buckled, so I can't use it now. And actually I have to be very careful that the spring is on so that it doesn't shut off my motorcycle, the safety feature. I'm just leaning against trees, but who cares when you are here and you have that. Absolutely amazing. Incredible place to be. Take a dip midday, if not in this fresh water, then in the hot waters of the hot springs. There's so many hot springs here, and we include that in our tour. So look at this beautiful place. Pegasus Motorcycle Tours and Consulting, bringing you the best of Eastern Sierra. Check it out, let's book it, let's do it. Aside from the very manageable weight and how it is carried, again, superb design, what I love about this bike is the delivery, the power. Now, you understand that KTM is focused on racing. You get that right when you turn on the screen and it says, ready to race. I mean, I'm not ready to race, I'm just ready to tour, and I'm ready to teach and that kind of thing. I'm not ready to really race. I don't ride that hard. But this motorcycle has not found its limit, or better yet, I and my limitations have not been tested sufficiently enough to make me want something lighter or more capable on dirt, like the 690, which was much more capable on dirt, but it lacked in other departments that this bike makes up, which makes this bike a better choice for me personally. And the price is coming out to be the same. Now again, this is the S version. The R version has a little more aggressive front up here. It does not have this mudguard, has the beak. It has a little more aggressive suspension in that regard. You can get the rally version, although this also allows you to buy the additional rally mode and a few other knickknacks. And I'll be reviewing that motorcycle because, as you'll come to find out towards the end of this video, what I will be looking to upgrade this motorcycle, because of course we have to change, is the 890. And specifically the 890 Adventure R Rally. So that's the kind of the most extreme version of the bike. A little overkill probably, but then again, better to have a bike that's more capable, that you can grow into and grow with, and that's more I guess forgiving of your mistakes, especially when you're out adventure touring. I'm mostly scouting by myself or with a partner that's in a chase vehicle, and I just like to be able to not be limited by the machine itself. this bike has been amazing in that regard. The 790 Adventure S version also has a lower seat height. It has two adjustable modes for the seat, basically two adjustable heights between 32.7 to 33.5 inches. I'm 5'8", 172 centimeters, and with boots and proper riding apparel and a little bit of weight, I've never found it to be a problem with this bike. Again, it feels very, very low slung, so the weight is manageable in that regard. Now, the Adventure R version also differs in the fact that obviously it is taller. It has a little bit of a smaller windscreen. This windscreen here is adjustable. It has two different spots, and it's only held by one Torx screw, which is really nice because when I'm loading it in my Nobo 10.6 trailer, which is a toy hauler, very compact though, all I have to do is just unscrew these mirrors and unscrew this one screw that holds the whole windscreen up there, and I just flip it around, screw it back in so it's out of the way. So I can put it in my Nobo, which is, I believe, 52 inches of height, of ceiling height, and it's actually not a problem at all. I can fit two of these bikes in that little trailer. Just stay tuned for that review. Pretty neat little rig if you're into that, and if you just like to have a little bit of the modern amenities like some running water and a little bit of kitchenette and that kind of thing. Now, what else about this bike? The handling is amazing. So in the power department, you get 96 horsepower and 65 foot-pounds of torque. Really, more than enough for adventure touring in that regard. There could always be more, obviously, but on dirt, you're not going to need any more than that. And on asphalt, it's perfectly satisfactory in windy condition, passing vehicles. But it's not just the numbers, it's the power delivery. Now, the very sporty ride is partly due, obviously, to the fantastic LC8 motor. This is the bigger version of the LC4 used in the single-cylinder KTMs, which has been really kind of a hallmark, I think, for their brand. They really help grow their brand. I speak about it more when I review my 325. The LC8 94 horsepower and 65 foot-pound of torque motor is married to a Bosch ignition system with ride-by-wire throttle and a DKK Del Orto 46 millimeter throttle bodies. It's really, there's never any lag. I've actually never stalled this motorcycle. So the gearing, it's a 6-speed transmission, of course, and the gearing is also really fantastically organized in the sense that this bike can really do it all. You can be going 110 miles an hour and you can get there pretty damn quickly. And then you see a dirt, you slow down and you're ripping up that dirt road, and you're never skipping a beat. I really love the gearing on this motorcycle. I wouldn't change a thing in that regard. So that part's been really confidence inspiring, because not making those little mistakes and dropping your bike all the time and actually being able to be seated in some of this gnarly stuff is pretty impressive, I think. Obviously, the KTMs have always been known for their fantastic suspension. This is a WP suspension, apex in the front, apex in the rear, 7.9, I think, millimeters or inches of travel on both, with 9.3, I believe, inches of ground clearance, allow you to really test a little bit of yourself and of the machine. The beauty about the front is that the rebound and the compression are divided so that you can have that independent operation. I think the rebound is in one fork and the compression in the other. For the rear, you just have the traditional spring. You could see it there. It is adjustable. So KTM's always known for having fantastic suspension, and I think a bike without a great suspension is half a bike. So obviously this is a parallel twin cylinder motor, and oil changes on this thing have been a little bit challenging, mainly in that you kind of have to remove some of these bolts that are holding the tank in place, and I had the hardest time putting some of that back, but I think that was more my technique than anything. But it's not hard to work on, and you do get a fairly substantial aluminum skid plate protecting the bottom, and I like that very much. I think this bike requires 0 upgrades from factory, which is really, really nice. Even the handguards come stock. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? You got a 21 front inch wheel with a 18 in the rear, so really, really great for options that you want that are now just overwhelming on the adventure touring market. However, one negative factor is, for whatever reason, they decided to offset the valve on the rear rim, which is really annoying because that kind of determines and limits the amount of options that you have just by having that offset valve coming out of the wheel. It's kind of questionable why that would be the case. I'm really not sure. If you know why some companies would choose to do that, please do let me know, because I'm just curious to learn. The seat is a dual part seat, again between 32.7 and 33.5 inches of seat height. So you remove one seat in the front and then you have access to the battery, which is located right here. The rear seat also just kind of clips off. It's a little difficult to do that, unfortunately. And you have to remove the rear seat in order to remove the front. So when you have it loaded like this, you really can't access the battery unless you take everything off, which is a really, really annoying factor, because I also have a Pelican case mounted on the rear with a Rotopax auxiliary gas tank here. So it's just not easy to do that, because all my straps for the Moscow Moto bags are going underneath this bag, and it's like it's a really laborious kind of thing if I actually have to remove the seat. So that's one design that I wish that adventure touring motorcycle companies would keep in mind, that we have these bikes loaded most of the time. I mean, I'm not taking my luggage off when I get home. It's still on there, So it's something to keep in mind. Keeps it a little bit more difficult. Now, married to the ride-by-wire throttle, you have the slipper clutch. It's kind of neat. This is a power-assisted slipper clutch, which is really, really useful and very, very necessary, I believe, when you have such a aggressive motorcycle or race-oriented motorcycle with that spirit. You get a lot of power in wet conditions, even in dry conditions. If you're downshifting a little quickly, you can lock up the rear very easily, and this prevents that. That slipper clutch operation really prevents that. You do get ABS. They're also cornering ABS, which is really, really intelligent, and obviously you can turn it off easily on the go with a TFT display that gives you a ton of information. These are all the options that you get. You even have the service light that you can remove yourself, which I always appreciate. You can see all the warnings light that you get, the traction control, which let's do that. If you're off-roading and you want to switch it to basically dirt, you can change the ABS to off-road, and that will automatically disable the MSR. Aside from that, you do get settings where you can save your favorite settings, Bluetooth connection, display theme, and shift light and dark, clock time, units, language. I don't know what DRL is, to be honest. I gotta look that up. And how to yeah, this is where you could save the details of your last service, which is kind of nice. Extra functions, the KTM MyRide app, interesting. You do get a gas indicator, but only from half tank. A little bit annoying. I don't know why they didn't go all the way. It's always a little bit unfortunate, but there is that. And then trips data. Let's see what's in there. Set trip 1, trip 2 warning. You just need service. It doesn't tell you what you need. So let's say trip 1 tells you the gas mileage, tells you the average speed, trip time, fuel range, always appreciated. Outside temperature, obviously you get the temperature of the motor as well, of the coolant. Okay, and then general info, odometer, and battery. Also, it's nice to have that. And you do get a gear indicator. That's kind of interesting. I like that. Don't need it, but I like it. Just everything you could possibly want, except access to the rally mode, which is an even more aggressive delivery, I guess, throttle, fuel delivery to the motorcycle. And this is something you purchase extra. It's one of those new, well, fairly new subscription model of motorcycle bullshit that I'm not a supporter of. This is especially prominent in electric motorcycles. If you ever purchase a Zero, you're maybe going to be kicking yourself in the ass for doing that, because you actually didn't just buy a bike that has all this possibility already in it. You actually have to just pay more for the extra range, 10% more power, and faster charging. It's just like, I bought the bike, it's my bike. You know, I'm not for the subscription model, and I think KTM has jumped on the bandwagon, as has BMW. I think if we are loud enough as consumers, we can prevent that trend, that very unfortunate trend. So lighting has been great. I don't have any issues with the lighting. I love that they offer you this kind of a European standard passing light. I use it all the time, even though I ride with my high beams during daylight. It's just nice to have that, because you know, with this bike you come so quickly, and at an intersection where somebody's thinking of, you know, passing through, it's just nice to be able to warn them. So that's been great. Everything else is, you know, you get a cable clutch so that you can easily carry a reserve, just zip tie it around, run it through the bike. So if this one ever breaks, you have another one. I appreciate that. You do get a lockable gas tank cap, obviously hydraulic brakes. So in the front, you get a 320 millimeter dual caliper, dual rotor, dual piston per caliper KTM brakes that are phenomenal. I kind of wish they added, although it looks very beefy, I wish they did include steel braided brake lines out the box, but I've never really had any issues with stopping on this bike. I think the ABS is fantastic. It's very intelligent. It does not grab too early, and you can have fun with it. You could turn it off and just, you know, learn to appreciate the bike in its natural form. Let's say when I teach adventure touring techniques, I always have my customers learn to skid the rear wheel even at a little bit of uncomfortable speed, and to get comfortable with that. I think that's a crucial skill to learn. This bike has been all the way up to Alaska. Pretty interesting experience, and I think there would be no other bike I'd rather prefer to take up there for a trip like that, to be very honest. The optional quick shifter is very, very good, very intelligent. It's a little bit cumbersome to get used to. You sometimes shift in and out of gear unexpectedly, and I like that this pivots, of course, so that you don't break it. But it's a good addition for adventure touring bikes that are a little more aggressive, because when you're climbing a more intense hill and you cannot lose that momentum, but you need to shift down, this is it. This is the way to do it. I mean, we all get good enough to shift in a split second, you know, with experience, but I think it's good to have, to be honest, and especially if you're standing on your foot pegs and you just want to tap into that real quick. It's predictable, it's not jerky when you do it right, and I like it. Foot pegs are great. They're pretty wide, and you can remove the rubber piece so that you have these teeth basically that grip. Everything seems to be fairly protected. You have the slave cylinder kind of inside, unless you're hitting, I mean, it's like a foot inside from the widest part of the motorcycle, so I'm not worried about it kind of crashing into anything and breaking. I like that. Again, it does not require a lot of protection in this regard. I did wish that the stock shifter here was able to bend or pivot at the tips so that you're not bending it or breaking it if you do lay the bike down, although it seems to be also fairly hidden. The fans seem to be also deep there, protected and whatnot. I do wish that some of these bolts had secured washers so that you did not have to lose them every time you take them off and always have to look for them. You get this bored out kind of swing arm that's very lightweight, very sturdy, and it's married to the trellis frame, which is exceptional when it comes to the feel of the motorcycle. There's no flex, there's no need even for the stabilizer, obviously, because these are upside down forks, and the whole package is very, very stable, very sturdy. The subframe is bolted, which is a benefit. If you ever break it, crack it, you could always replace it without the need to weld. In the dash, there's also a little hidden removable piece of plastic where you can add a GPS mount. The heat is manageable. You do feel it when you're kind of lugging along, you know, in first gear, just trying to maneuver through some difficult terrain, but nothing that's unreasonable or something that you cannot handle. So it's very manageable. So I just came back from the KTM dealership here in Southern California, one of them. I won't mention names. And I was going to inquire about A, how common is the problem of my side stand buckling, and B, the thing that we have to talk about in a review of the KTM 790 in particular, and that's the camshaft issue.
It's 2024 and this issue has now exploded. The group on Facebook that collects all owners who've had issues with this is now 10,000 people strong. Although I'm not recognizing any problems in regards to power loss or anything to that effect, I'm still worried about what to expect. My bike has 15,000 miles. It's been up to Dalton Highway. I mean, it's made it up to Alaska and back, and pretty hard miles, a lot of it dirt. And I'm wondering, am I supposed to expect this camshaft issue? Now, what is the camshaft issue? I assume it's not the first time you've heard about it, but if it is, here it is. It's basically failed camshaft lobes for the 790 motor pre-2021. This involves the Norden, this involves the Duke as well. I think that the response from KTM has been abysmal, to be very honest. I think no camshaft should last 15,000 miles or less. Some of these people are opening their bikes after putting a lot of money into it, you know, to have this examined, and they're finding completely worn out lobes. And the fact is, we don't know what's causing it. Obviously it's an oiling issue, but it also might be the hardness of the materials used. KTM has not accepted any kind of responsibility, and it seems like those owners who have already invested into finding the trouble out of their own pocket are also not always getting reimbursed. It's kind of a corporate decision from the very top, and it's very unfortunate, I think, the way that KTM has responded to this issue. So that said, I think this issue alone is enough to make me second guess myself if I would ever invest in another 790, to be very honest. Mostly not because of the issue, but more so because of the response by KTM. So if I was on the market for a 790, I would basically not be at this point, just in virtue of how KTM has chosen to respond to this. And I've been to the headquarters here in United States, the Western office, the Superior Mobility. They own amazing bikes like the MV Agusta and Husqvarna. Beautiful building, beautiful brands that are there, including some electric bicycles as well. But I think this is just not the right way that a company should respond, because these bikes have to be on the road for a long time. Speaking of a long time on the road, look at that beautiful thing. Also the car along with the woman in it. But yeah, that would be my 2 cents. I just think it's not permissible to respond like this to a very serious issue like cams. As for the side stand, I'm having my machinist make a proper side stand. It's going to be a lot more durable, a lot more sturdy, a little bit heavier, but also double the thickness of the metal. So if you'd like yours upgraded, just reach out, send it to me, and I'm going to make it better for less than you would pay for a replacement. So stay tuned for a more in-depth review of the rest of the KTM line. In the garage right now I have a 1290 as well. Just out of curiosity, you can see my reviews of the other KTMs that I've owned, but I think 790 has hit something very unique in the adventure touring industry, and most of it, aside from a great suspension and great motor, is the way that they have installed this tank and have brought down that level of weight distribution that just makes the bike way more agile. I think that's all I can give you about the bike. I love taking this bike out for a ride. Even I have gone orange. I bought all my gear. I got the Shoei orange adventure touring helmet, and I got my orange Camelback, and I'm it now. I'm legit, you know, and that orange adds at least 6-7 more horsepower. So just keep that in mind. If you want to ride orange, you better be serious. You got to deck out. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, and let me show you a little bit of the Eastern Sierras. Go on our website, Pegasus Motorcycle Tours, see the trailer, reach out and pick a few friends, or just come alone. I'll show you amazing sights, amazing rides. Till next time, Nick, I'm out.